If you agree with the idea of a government that works better for we the people, please subscribe and share. This is more than just a video, it's a movement about you.
Welcome to the Independent Leadership Series. Today's episode illuminates the principles of unbiased governance, leadership beyond party lines. Imagine the map. Glowing softly, the U.S. illuminates, representing unity. The phrase Independent Leadership Series appears gradually, underlined by its promise, beyond parties toward principles. Consider a moment. While local representatives echo their community's voices, executive leaders represent everyone. They must unify rather than divide, lead rather than enforce. Picture George Washington's wisdom guiding our topic today. Seamless transitions between topics keep the narrative engaging. Remember, when leaders favor parties like referees donning a team's colors, impartiality vanishes. As we close, envision a montage of citizens united. Subscribe to stay informed and journey with us beyond division. Independent Leadership Series, Beyond Parties Toward Principles. Thank you for watching.
Why executives must be independent, even if legislators are partisan. Welcome back to the Independent Leadership Series, where we ask bold questions about politics, power, and what true leadership looks like. Let me ask you this: is it wrong for city council members, representatives, or senators to belong to political parties? Not necessarily. Their job is to represent specific districts, communities, or regions, and those areas often lean in clear directions. City council members, state representatives, senators. These roles were built for partisanship. They are supposed to bring the voice of their communities even if that voice is strongly aligned with one party. That's the design. Partisan representatives are like instruments in an orchestra. Each has its own sound, sometimes clashing, sometimes harmonizing. But the orchestra still needs a conductor. But when you rise to the office of mayor, governor, or president, your constituency isn't a slice of the pie. It's the whole pie. You don't govern part of the people, you govern all of them. That changes everything. Consider executive leaders. A mayor governs the entire city, not just one neighborhood. A governor serves the whole state, not just one county. The president must be the leader of every American, not just those who voted for them. If executives tie themselves to a party, they risk becoming biased referees in the game they're supposed to oversee. Imagine a referee in sports wearing the jersey of one of the teams. Would anyone trust their calls? Executives must be above the partisan fray, because their job is not to represent a part, their job is to govern the whole. Their allegiance should not be to party platforms, but to fairness, justice, and the common good. The difference may be subtle, but it changes everything about how we should think about power, leadership, and trust. Why partisanship may work for legislators. Local representatives exist to give voice to their communities. If a district is predominantly rural, agricultural, or industrial, it makes sense that their representative may lean heavily toward one political party that reflects those values. This isn't corruption, this is representation. The House of Representatives, state legislatures, and city councils are designed for debate, for diversity of viewpoints, and yes, for partisanship. That's how different communities bring their priorities into the public square. Let's start with local and regional representatives. Their job is rooted in geography. One district might be predominantly urban, diverse, and progressive. Another might be rural, agricultural, and conservative. Each deserves a voice. And here's the truth: no single party can fully represent the complexity of an entire country. That's why we need representatives to advocate for their specific communities. Think of them like chess pieces on a board. The knight moves differently than the rook. Each has its own role, its own purpose. That's part. That's partisanship at work, distinct communities, distinct voices. And when they all gather in legislatures, state houses, or Congress, it becomes a forum of debate, a place where ideas collide, clash, and eventually, compromise. This is the healthy tension of democracy. Why executives must be independent. Now let's contrast that with executive leadership. As mayor, you don't just represent one neighborhood. You represent all neighborhoods. The wealthy ones, the struggling ones, the ones that voted for you, and the ones that didn't. As governor, you don't just represent one county. You represent the entire state, mountains and cities, farms and factories, blue counties and red counties. And when someone becomes president, you don't just represent a party. You represent a nation. That is why partisanship is dangerous at the executive level. Because the job of the executive isn't to take sides, it's to unify sides. Executives are supposed to be the referees of democracy, keeping the game honest, fair, and functional. If they pledge allegiance to one team, then half the people immediately stop trusting the process. So what happens when executives put party first? We've seen it. Entire communities are neglected because they belong to the wrong party. State budgets get gridlocked because a governor won't work with the other side. Presidents spend more time rallying their base than uniting their nation. This has a cost. It erodes trust. It deepens division. It teaches citizens that leadership is just another campaign rally instead of stewardship of the whole. History shows us the danger. Washington himself warned in his farewell address that parties could turn citizens against each other, creating enemies out of neighbors. And that's exactly what happens when executives lead as party captains instead of impartial leaders. A partisan executive isn't a leader. They're a weapon. And weapons divide. The vision of independent leadership, but here's the good news, we don't have to accept this. What if mayors ran without party labels? What if governors were chosen not for their party loyalty, but for their ability to govern fairly? What if presidents were leaders for all, not just leaders for half? Legislators would still bring the voice of their regions. Debate would still happen. Partisanship would still exist in the halls of Congress. But the executives, the ones with the pen, the veto, the police powers, the command of armies, would be above it. That balance could restore trust. It could bring fairness. It could turn executives back into guardians of the people instead of champions of parties. Representation has its rightful place. But leadership? Leadership requires more. Representatives can fight for their districts. Senators can defend their states. But when you take the oath of mayor, governor, or president, you inherit a responsibility larger than party. Your duty is not to the red, or the blue, but to the red, white, and blue. In our next episode, we'll spotlight leaders who rose above partisanship, and discover how they govern differently. Leaders who prove that independence isn't just an idea, it's possible. Thanks for watching. If you believe leadership should serve people, not parties, subscribe, share this message, and join us in the next episode of the Independent Leadership Series.
If you agree with the idea of a government that works better for we the people, please subscribe and share. This is more than just a video, it's a movement about you.